Howdy again everyone, and it's nice today to see a fairly handy and popular aps-c Sigma lens make its way onto Canon RF mount, the 30mm f1.4 DC-DN-C. It's a standard lens, the full frame equivalent of 48mm, and it has a very bright maximum aperture of f1.4, so it kinda offers you a similar experience to shooting a fast 50 on a full frame camera. Those images it offers are really desirable, offering a field of view that's wide enough to get a bit of the bigger picture into the frame, but tight enough for a nice little emphasis on your subject, not to mention fast shutter speeds at f1.4 for shooting in darker situations. This will actually be the 5th time I've tested this little lens. I've also covered it on Sony E, Canon EFM, Nikon Z and Fuji X mounts. As I mentioned, it only offers a smaller aps-c image circle, not full frame, so it's ideal for Canon's aps-c RF mount mirrorless cameras like the little R100, R50, R10 and R7. I don't know the lens's exact price yet, I'll put it in the description, but it should be about the same as it is on other mounts, which is $370 or about £320 here in the UK. I'd like to thank Sigma UK for loaning me this lens for a week for testing, although as usual this is a totally independent review. And it won't be a full review, I'll just be testing to see how well it works on a Canon EOS R7 camera, including its electronics and its sharpness on a 32 megapixel sensor. If you want to see a full review covering everything about the lens, there'll be a link in the description below to my review of the Sony version of it. Some of the sample pictures you'll see in this video are from that Sony review, but all the test pictures, obviously, are from my Canon EOS R7. When it comes to build quality, everything's on a par with the other versions of the lens here, except, of course, for the larger mount. The lens is fairly small and made from a mixture of plastic and metal. It's fairly lightweight but feels high quality in your hand. Sigma advertised the lens as being dust and splash resistant, and there is indeed a weather sealing gasket around the metallic rear mount. Near that comes the lens's rubberized focus ring, which turns extremely smoothly and responds very well with the lens's motor to being turned. The lens's autofocus motor works silently, accurately, and almost instantaneously. It had no trouble focus tracking on my EOS R7 either. Nice! The lens also cooperated with the image stabilization and in-camera corrections of my EOS R7 camera too. No problems here. The lens comes with a plastic and rubber hood which feels nice and tactile and can be reverse mounted. The lens's 52mm filter thread is nice and small, saving you a little money on filters. My copy of the lens did not come with a carry case, and it does not feature its own optical image stabilization. Overall though, the lens's build quality is excellent, and its small, lightweight nature makes it especially handy. It sits really well on my R7 and feels great to use. Okay then, image quality. This was always one of the weaker Sigma contemporary lenses, so let's see what the very demanding sensor of my R7 makes of this. In-camera corrections are turned on for this test. In the middle of the image at f1.4 we are seeing some good sharpness here, but it's rather masked by low contrast and strong purple fringing on contrasting edges. Let's have a look over in the corners. Interestingly, it's quite possible to make out an image here, but contrast is very low. Stop down to f2 for a nice improvement in corner brightness and contrast, although those corners are still looking a little soft. Back in the middle, picture quality has greatly improved. Now we are seeing excellent sharpness and contrast, although just a touch of purple fringing is still visible. f2.8 looks even better, but it's only really at f4 that we're seeing perfect sharpness in the middle of the image. The image corners are looking a fair bit sharper now, but still softer than the middle. They're about the same at f5.6 and f8. Stop down any further to f11 or f16 and softness begins to re-emerge due to the effect of diffraction. Overall, the very high-resolution 32 megapixel sensor of the Canon EOS R7 is clearly a tough playing ground for this lens design. It's rather soft at f1.4, although not unusable by any means, and it gradually sharpens up as you stop its aperture down. So it'll get you quite striking images at brighter apertures, but they won't be critically sharp. If you're shooting on a 24 megapixel camera, your images will seem a bit better though, and its optics are still just about sharp enough for 4K video work. Everything else about the Sigma lens, vignetting, distortion, flaring, chroma, sun stars, well, I had to look and they're all the same as the Sony version, as you'd expect. So if you want even more info, go over and check out that review. Like I said, link in the description below. Overall, the Sigma lens's build quality and electronics are a great fit for my EOS R7 camera, but its optics are beginning to look dated at this point. If its price point is still nice and low, then I can still imagine a few people buying this one, as there isn't currently another autofocus lens quite like it for Canon's aps-c RF mount cameras. If you're not expecting too much from its image quality, then its pictures for you will still look very nice.